bringing up a lot of bad memories of whatever happened to me earlier. And that was a phase of 1 or 2 weeks when people are talking about their own past sexual harassments by their seniors. Then it settles down. The next wave of Me Too problem is men who are falsely accused. That I was accused. I'm not going to name people, but there were people who were accused by some XY. And okay, because there are names on public domain, I can tell those names. They send it to Chinmayi. And Chinmayi, without verifying, just posts them. And says, Mr. So-and-so, your time is up. And that Mr. So-and-so hasn't done anything. Now that he has to prove, and he proves it 2 weeks later that he hasn't done. Who is saying sorry? No, by then his career is spoiled. He is a bad person in the world. So what happened was then I've seen a lot of people from different organizations who have been targeted by ex-colleagues who have been reprimanded by this person, who, I don't want to go into names, but this is in public domain. It's there in all the TV, all the news media. Person says in the initial internal company history, he's harassing me, he's being very strict, he's rude and all that. But as the Me Too progressed, everyday interview, she is adding new words. Initial harassment, strict, and Hitler, he's an Iron Man and all that, becomes sexual harassment, asking for sexual favors, which was never there in the initial. But the problem is, by then his job is gone, reputation is gone. So that's the next level. So freedom of speech and even talking out has its own problem because you need to verify. You need to verify before. So calling out also has. Now the third wave is, it's actually hurting people because nowadays companies say they are very, very afraid to recruit new girls, new young girls, because they are afraid they will say Me Too. So let's not. It's ongoing, but there are pluses and minuses of Me Too. But I don't see Me Too as bullying. It's like, as he said, calling out, but then some people could use that calling out for bullying. And it also borders on defamation if it's not true. And the onus becomes that person's to defend. One more thing the online cyberbullies do is they collect your information. As I said, the information about you is there because of you. You have put photographs of a party, you have put photograph of this, photograph of that. All those photographs can be collected, morphs, and what they do is, when they want to get back at you, they start a fake blog. He mentioned about it. They start a fake blog, write all kinds of things. They have morph pictures. Then they say, I'm available between 7 p.m. After 7 p.m. available. This is my phone number. They put the actual phone number and the person keeps getting calls. And that's really, that they did to Rana also. They wrote all kinds of stuff about her. And people were calling her and harassing. And you might have seen this video where she's in an airport waiting for security, and there is an elderly man looking very respectable shouting at her because there was a video saying she supported child marriage and taking those children to Arabia. She never did that, but somebody kept tweeting, and they were picking her up in public places, not just online. It spills over to offline also. And morphing. There was this young girl near Salem whose picture was morphed, put on the internet. She complained to the police, kept following up, nothing was done. And apparently the policeman joked saying, oh, I have an old phone, I can't, how do I see pictures on phone? Can you get me a new phone and all? She committed suicide. This, I'm sure most of you know, last year. So morphing can also lead to a lot of psychological damage, and at that point, a person who's very upset will think suicide is the only answer. There are a lot of other answers, but at that time they do it. So that could be. One more thing that cyberbullies do is they vandalize your data, especially if you have a lot of stuff online, like a bank. They could get into the bank and vandalize the customer data. They could, if you are an organization where a lot of data is on some servers, they can go and vandalize. This usually is done government to government or group to group rather than at an individual level, unless somebody is very angry. I used to have this 10th standard boy who was very smart but extremely throwing tantrums, and his way of throwing stones at everybody is his mother is very harsh with him, father is very harsh with him. He'll shout at them, go and lock his door. And nobody knows what. He's actually hacking a bank. Some bank which he doesn't even know. Parents will know only 1 week later and the police come and say, oh, somebody hacked a bank from this place. He doesn't do it for money. He just wants to throw stones Now, no physical stones, so you just go and throw stones at an online bank and parents know later. He kept doing it to various organizations. But there are people who vandalize data willingly, purposely. There are a lot of governments who are, many of these online, with some technical knowledge, if you can hack people and create trouble, you are in great demand across the world by many countries. Then identity theft. They could steal your credit card data and other data and order stuff as if you are ordering. And things come to your house and that's when you realize, because nowadays most of the stuff can be ordered and said paid at delivery. So you don't have to even pay upfront. So you don't even have to have all the credit card data. And then you have physical stalking. Many of the online stalkers also end up stalking physically, and that could be a major threat. Now, as I said, who is more susceptible for cyberbullying? As I said, somebody who's there online most of the time. Because if you are online only for a limited time, earlier when we were paying for data, we used to send something, immediately come out of the internet. Now it's like unlimited free, we don't even bother to come out of internet because each time you need to get connected, we just leave it like that. So we are practically on all the time. And if you are especially updating on a very regular basis, you become very susceptible. So one way is to just keep away from internet, because this was older time that, I don't know how many of you have seen a computer like this where it's a cathode ray tube. Some of you have seen. Then what has happened now is, in any household or any youngster of your age, I can think of at least 4 different ways by which you can, it's a Android smart TV. Earlier we used to call it idiot box, now it has become smart TV. Then you have your mobile, then you have your tab, you have your conventional computer, you have your laptop, you have your watch which can reach internet. How many of you have 4 or more access? 4 or more gadgets to access internet? How many of you have 3? 3 gadgets through which you can access. Okay. 4, 2. 2 will be multiple, because then you are either at home, you are on this, on laptop, or when you are outside, you are on mobile and you are continuously on it. And the amount of social media network we consume is phenomenal. So we are constantly at risk because we are exposing ourselves all the time, giving away a lot of information. Put out information, or if you have to put out a lot of information, form a group and put it only in that. Now, what are the psychological consequences of, if any one of you, we are not talking about journalists, we are talking about individuals. If a person is trolled, if a person is bullied, what are the consequences? Anxiety is one of the commonest consequences. Anytime something happens which is threatening, which is like you're not clear about what's happening, anxiety is one of the commonest consequences. And anxiety, the symptoms are fear. You fear very much about it, and there is inability, you can't relax. Even if you want to relax, you don't feel like relaxing. A lot of muscular tension, especially the long muscles. Headache can be there because of that. And continuous rumination about the bullying. Like if you have been a subject of bullying, a person is anxious and also keeps worrying about what is the person going to do next, or what are other people going to do about it. There's constant rumination. And when anxiety is very severe, you can have all these symptoms. You can have palpitation, tremor, sweating, breathlessness. All these happen because of, anybody has an idea why this happens in anxiety? Because of increase in adrenaline. See, adrenaline is a hormone which is there naturally. When you are in danger, your adrenaline will be more, because the reaction is called, when you face danger, it's called flight or fight reaction. You immediately run away from that place, your heart is beating faster, your muscles are becoming tighter, you sweat. All this will help you in a physical danger. But any other anxiety, but the body has not changed in the last 10,000 years, the response is the same. Even if it's a threat on the internet, the body responds in the same way. And also depends, the anxiety level also depends on whether the bully is known. It could be a known person in your class who is doing this, or sometimes somebody will impersonate. What happens is, bullying can also be looking very nice up to a point. Typically what happens is, 2 girls want to pick on another girl. They keep sending messages from a boy's ID created by them, and the boy keeps saying mushy mushy messages, and the girl thinks, she feels very good about it. She looks at the boy in the class, smiles, and he doesn't know why she's smiling. And much later, when the girl picks up courage to go and ask, Why are you sending me all lovely messages but not looking at my face in the class? Then he says, what are you talking about? That's the time she knows somebody else is playing a prank on her. They think it's a funny prank, but it can cause a lot of harm to the person. So, and whether the bully is known or unknown. Unknown, actually the anxiety can really go up. And anxiety can also go up if it's an individual or a group. And what are they threatening? Are they just calling you names, or are they saying we'll come home, like it happened to many people? There are people who online public space giving you all kind of threats, which can be actually, it's a cognizable offense to give threats online, but many times actions are not taken. So that can cause your anxiety to go up. The second psychological response of being a victim of cyberbullying, trolling could be depression, sadness. Depression is an illness where the primary symptom is sadness. The person feels sad. We are not talking about sadness for 1 day, 2 days, because all of us can become sad when something doesn't happen the way we want. But we are talking about sadness for a continuous duration of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And the person has decreased interest in whatever they were earlier interested in, and they lose interest, they need to do it, they have to put in effort to even brush, get ready and go, and decrease ability to enjoy ordinary day-to-day events. And they also have sad thoughts, ideas of helplessness. There's nobody to help me, nobody can help me because we don't even know who the perpetrators are. Ideas of hopelessness, that nothing can save them, they are doomed. And ideas of worthlessness, that's something which the bullier is trying to imply by saying all kinds of nasty messages, especially at a school and college level where personal attributes, you're not tall, you're stupid, lot of these attributes can trigger a whole lot of self-esteem issues, and they feel worthless. When somebody feels helpless and worthless, they feel the next logical step is to just go away. And then you can have a lot of other non-specific symptoms like sleep disturbance, appetite disturbance. It will be less in most people. In some adolescents, it can actually become more. Then you have lethargy as a symptom of depression, very tired than usual, and you could have aches and pains. And one common thing which many times we do not know, if somebody is bullied, they feel sad, it might not come on newspapers. But when somebody commits suicide, then it comes, because suicide is the last step. When they are harassed enough, at some point they feel like nothing can be done, let me just kill myself. Or they have attempted a few, like the girl in Salem, made a few attempts, and when she thought the system is not helping her, why not just go away? That might look like a logical step to them. Initially, they have what is called as death wish. That is, you think I would not be bothered if I don't get up tomorrow morning. I would not be bothered if a lorry runs over me. That's death wish. You're not thinking about suicide, but you're not bothered about death. Then the person starts thinking about suicide. What shall I do? Shall I take a past prescription, go to 10 shops, get 10 times the tablets, or should I do this, should I do that? That's suicidal ideation. And then suicidal attempt when the suicidal ideation is more. And many victims of bullying. Now the real extent of bullying hasn't come out, because like sexual abuse, many of them don't come out because parents say, even when sexual abuse comes to the clinic, it would have happened, say, 1 year ago, 2 years ago. Problem is, we get to see sexual abuse even after 30, 40 years. People talk about, earlier politicians used to say, oh, Indian culture, sexual abuse never occurred, it's a Western concept and all that. Now, a 65-year-old lady is telling she was abused for 50 years back, and what was culture doing 50 years back? But if we see somebody abused 2 weeks ago, and if we tell the parents, please do something about it, they say, oh, if we go to police, even her name will be dragged. So they are not reporting. So I'm not sure how many of the web-based cyberbullying, sexual harassment through online is being reported, because the girl also would have given out a lot of information for the person. Because one of the things I need to warn against is, there are people who have this notion of, how many of you see you got mail, old movie? You have got mail. Old movie, when internet had just come in, email had just come in, this whole idea of falling in love without seeing a person. There was a Tamil movie which was not phone but letter, Kadal Kottai. How many of you saw Kadal Kottai? There was this huge fascination about falling in love without seeing a person. Manasu mattu therinja podum mukham vendam. So what happens is, many of these men entice women and form a relationship online. And online, I can be any avatar I can. Like I actually play cricket for my league. I am this, I am that. You can actually add any kind of profile to you. And these people are apparently in love. And many of these people say to the girl, come on video chat. And after 5-6 video chats, they say, oh, we are anyway going to marry, why don't you just undress and continue video chat? And many of them, educated, highly, I would say, intelligent, girls have actually complied and gone ahead because they say, okay, anyway, I'm going to marry them. And this fellow is not doing it to just one person, he's doing it to many people and then put it on porno sites. Now, parents, when they ultimately come to know, they are not going to do anything because the girl has given out a whole lot of other issues. Photographs of the person. If you don't love me, don't do it. If you love me, send a nude photograph. And some of them fall prey for that. I am saying don't even put your, other than your mugshot, don't put anything. And there are people putting any kind of thing just because somebody is asking. Another way of coping with stress when online or offline is some people take to substance. I won't go into it, it's a huge area. Some people smoke, some people go for alcohol. As a maladaptive way of coping with stress, I wouldn't go into that in detail. Now, how do we minimize the impact of being a victim? One is, he talked about it in detail, ignore. If you are a person, a journalist cannot ignore because it could be related to his or her job. Whereas if you are being constantly, don't give them a reason to think, oh, they have upset you or they have troubled you. Because some of these composed people just want